I was in a debate just the other day with some of my smartest friends, and here's what we were debating about. Are we at the bottom of a market with all like 7 months of pain? Are we at the bottom of the market and expecting a boom, or are we at the top of a market and expecting a crash? Okay, the last 7 months have been very painful for the stocks, for stocks markets and everything. So are we positioned in a particular spot where we're at the bottom, or are we at the top? And here is the lay of the land, just kind of how I see it here. Biden meets with Powell, affirms everyone is laser focused on curbing inflation because it's the #1 enemy right now. You see this in different countries. Food and fuel prices are soaring, tipping countries over the edge. The housing markets everywhere are soaring, like prices of houses are just going astronomical. In Ontario, Canada, I didn't put like a single article here because it'd be too much art. Ontario, Canada, this is South Florida, this is Australia, this is California, this is Utah. Housing prices, granted, most of these are in the United States, but this is also in the UK. I've seen this everywhere. So like housing markets are going crazy. And because of that, the Fed plans to increase rates, interest rate hikes by double basis points here. And it's a widely expected move. The Fed is set its targets on federal funds rate, which is the interest rate that banks base off their interest rates off of. And he says that this is upcoming policy meetings in June and July. So at least 2 more, okay? At least 2 more, and they will combat, it's the #1 enemy of the Fed. And then we see this like latest news of Ukraine-Russia war. How long is this going to be going on for? People did not expect this to go on for this long. A new COVID variant, Omicron variant or whatever, and then supply chain challenges that still have yet to be overcome. They are, working on it. And so this is just the lay of the land. And so in this video, I'm going to go over what the leading voices are saying, in my opinion, about the upcoming market. Don't listen to me. And my name is Aaron. I'm just a lizard brain cowboy exploring the wild west of cryptocurrency with a whole bunch of other cowboys. And so if you want to follow me along in my journey through crypto and me just learning, hit the subscribe button below. Give me a like on this video if you are feeling generous, and join the Telegram if you want to get involved with some of the other coins and the projects, the crypto projects that we're talking about. But I'm talking about the real estate market the overall market, because all investing happens in a macro environment. Anytime we invest in cryptocurrency, doesn't matter what project, it is related to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is related to the stock market. It's a big mirror, at least right now. It shouldn't be. It should be a hedge, but it is a big mirror right now. I mean, it's just watch the map here or the charts. But I want to take you to some of these other leading names that are talking about the macro economy, and I think this is important for crypto investors to understand. Based on how you feel about investing and what your timeline should be. And so the first thing we're going to go through about 5 of these guys. The first one is this the Davos Economic Forum, and where we look at the main dude from Germany talking about his thoughts on what inflation is looking like in Germany and what it looks like for the macro environment for everyone else. So here we go.
We have high inflation in some of the countries in Europe, in the US, and a lot of other countries. We have an energy crisis, you must call it this way. We have food poverty, and we have the climate crisis. And we can't solve the problems if we are only concentrating on only one of the crises. But if none of the problems are solved, I'm really afraid that we are running into a global recession with a tremendous effect, not only about on climate protection and climate action, but of the global stability at all.
So that was him saying like, hey, that we are looking at a global recession. This is like economic instability. Here's the next person. This is Jeremy Grantham. He's accurately called the crash of the housing market, and this is what he says. He's calling this a super bubble. He said that like last year, everything's going to crash. Everything was so high. It didn't. Everything kept on going up. But he says we are actually in a bigger super bubble.
I mean, it's one thing to predict a collapse in stock prices. It's another altogether to tell investors they should sell. Should they?
As I said a year ago, I think they'll do pretty well by selling. I'm sympathetic to how difficult it is to get out entirely out of equities. And I would point out, as I did last year, that there are less overpriced parts of the equity market around the world. In fact, everywhere is less overpriced than the US. The US is the peak of this bubble as it was in 2000. And what it meant then is what it will mean today, and that is the US will decline a whole lot more than the rest. It's also true that the value end of the spectrum as opposed to the growth end is about as cheap as it gets. So if you can combine those by buying value stocks outside the US, I would say particularly emerging markets, but there's quite a few countries, Japan, the UK, where the markets are. If they're overpriced, they're only moderately overpriced. The US is not moderately overpriced. It is shockingly overpriced.
It is shockingly overpriced. He's saying that the United States and everything that we have, it's shockingly overpriced to top of the market type of stuff. So now we're seeing, like, I guess my bias, but I think a lot of people's bias on, like, hey, this is the top of the market, right? This is something that we need to be aware of. Like, hey, we are purchasing at premium rates. Not discounted rates when investors are supposed to be investing in. And so this is Robert Kiyosaki, known real estate guru turned like ultimately macroeconomics, finances. And so this is his take on the upcoming recession, but that it's actually going to be a lot worse than a recession.
About
thank you.
Because just let me say it again. Let me say it again and again and again. I hear it probably 5 times a day. Some guy or a young woman will come up and say, my dad gave me your book, and I'm going long real estate. I'm going, are you shitting me? Do you know what I mean? After, and what you're saying, if interest rates go up, what happens to real estate?
Yeah.
Down, right?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
that's
The economy, we're going into a depression.
I agree 100% with you. People say it's a recession, so we're already in a recession.
You're right.
Depression's coming.
So he's saying a depression is coming. We're already in the recession. Now, technically a recession is 2 quarters, right, of negative growth, but he's saying that it's going to be much worse than a recession. It's going to be a whole, like the Great Depression, okay? And he's saying something about interest rates. He's saying as interest rates go up, and the Fed will increase interest rates tremendously, okay? As these things go up, housing will go down. Why? Because when the Fed raises that interest rate, it makes it more expensive for people like you and me to borrow money, to borrow a loan, to buy a house, for financing of anything. So like that's buying a mortgage for a house, or like a car loan, or any of that kind of stuff. That stuff will lower, will decrease, and economic growth will start to decrease as the Fed raises more interest rates. Okay, so he's expecting a recession. Now we're gonna go to our final person here, and he is Peter Schiff, not a crypto guy, but still has valuable input overall for a macro economic environment for investing. And so here's what he says about an upcoming recession.
Yeah, well, I think we also got some news from the government that in the first quarter, GDP contracted by 1.4%. So I think this will end up being the first quarter of this recession. But this is going to be a very deep recession. It's going to last for a long time. It could be the worst recession anyone has experienced. And what's going to make it particularly problematic is going to be inflation. Inflation is high, and it's going higher. So you're going to have the combination of a very weak economy in recession and high inflation getting worse. And its inflation is going to complicate the severity of the recession and make it that much more difficult for average Americans to endure it.
So he's saying that there is a bigger thing that's going on here. It's going to be a deep recession. It could last a very long time. It could last years and years and years. And so prepare for a lot of pain. So what I think, and personally what I'm believing, is that the pain that we just had in the last 7 months, right? It's starting in December, and all these stocks going down, even and crypto going down, obviously, is that the knife just dropped. It's a falling knife, and it's at the very top of this long fall that it's got to go, says Peter Schiff. I think that these other voices in here are saying something of the same thing here, that we are at the top of a market that has just experienced just the first fringes of pain. Okay, it's like if you go to the doctor and you just get that, they just strap on that little rubber thing, and it's a little uncomfortable, and that's painful, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm done with the doctors. No, you still got the first shot, the second shot, the third shot, the thing that goes, you know. So like there is a lot of pain in our future, in my opinion, and in these guys' opinions, because of like just the world at large, and it's very hard to do. So what is the solution, right? At the end of the day, there's a big problem, and I think these people side on me, on my side of the debate, is that we are in for a lot of pain, incoming crash, and who knows for how long. What is the solution? Well, I'm going to turn to Mr. Michael Saylor for that one. And you know me, you're on this channel because it's of crypto and probably more so Bitcoin. I love the fact that there is an actual solution of this. There's a whole financial matrix that's a problem, where someone has the nucleus, the absolute power, the nucleus of power to just print money, right? Inflation is causing a lot of this pain. And so here is one of those, what I think would be the solution, what I think a lot of people think is the solution as well.
Oh, first of all, everybody needs a certain thing in a very uncertain world. And if you look at what Bitcoin is, it's a network of $20 billion worth of mining hardware, burning billions of dollars of energy a year, very decentralized, distributed all around the world. It took us 13 years to get here. There's only one Bitcoin. And if you go to Davos, everybody's talking about the need for a new global money. How am I going to store my value? And they're debating, is it gold? Is it silver? What is it? And obviously, Bitcoin's the answer. So we have a solution to the world's problem. I think it's just a matter of taking a seat and letting things play out.
So he's saying that, hey, look, it's just a matter of time until people start to realize like Bitcoin is the answer. Now he doesn't go into it in this particular segment that I've chosen, but he goes into it a very, extensively in many other videos. So I suggest that you watch a lot of them. Look, it's the fact that these rising, this rising inflation is pricing a lot of people out, and then combating with like the interest rates to combat with that. We're stuck in this like little tug of war, and these games that these people are playing. Why don't we just unplug from it all? For me, my strategy is to all roads lead back to Bitcoin. I'm in cryptocurrency. I'm in these projects, very early, good, solid projects with good teams, and I'm trying to get on whitelists. I'm trying to get in pre-sales. I'm trying to get in all that so that I can multiply my money and then buy and dollar cost average into Bitcoin as often as possible. Now, to do that strategy, you need a lot of time and research. You need a lot of connections, stuff that I'm trying to bring to you guys. I'm trying to do giveaways, whitelists, give all that kind of stuff, get information. But ultimately, if you're not in it like that, I'm just trying to buy more Bitcoin, honestly. Right now that my strategy is, like I said, getting to these early projects and multiplying my money quickly and get into Bitcoin. I also like ADA. ADA, I saw a big pump in the last couple of days for that. So if you follow me along on that, that's been good. And that's mostly because of CNFTs, my interest in CNFTs. That's just some degen stuff I like. Anyway, guys, I'm kind of rambling here, but here's the deal. And by the way, if you like CNFTs, later tonight I'm doing a live. I do a live on CNFTs every Tuesday night with a bunch of guys who are bigger brain than me in the space. But here's the thing. In relation to the video, guys, buy some more Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.